kind of reminds me of another client in March of 2020. Mike was fearful of what was going on. It's not just a health scare that happened. It was a financial scare as well in a really short amount of time. And he watched a really well-known hedge fund manager get on CNBC and really speak major doom and gloom and how we're going into the next depression, and predicted that things were going to get way, way worse. And it would have been so easy for Mike to go more conservative. But our clients, they did something different. They followed the same streamlined investment system we've been following for years, and they were proactive, and they rebalanced, and they actually moved more into equities for what made sense for each individual or couple. And it didn't jeopardize their income plan. And then a few months later, we actually had to do the reverse because things came back so quickly that they had to rebalance again and get back to the normal pace that they were at. But now let's talk about what this means specifically for you. It's another three things. One, Berkshire's got a goal and you've got a goal. And one goal for you, as we said, is provide predictable income to you, regardless of the ups and downs in the market. So step one is to create your retirement income plan first. Because once you create the income plan, that tells you how much you should have in stocks, bonds, or any other investment. It's kind of the income plan tells you what the investment plan needs to be. And that's part number two. That once you've got the income plan, it will tell you what the rate of return needs to be. We find that many clients, once they create the income plan, find out the rate of return, they can actually lower their risk a lot more and still have a very high chance of success in retirement, of the plan working out. And then number three, consider the bucket strategy. After you've got the allocation and the rate of return, then you could kind of, don't pay attention to the amounts here, but then you could kind of decide how much are we going to have in short-term assets that are not going to fluctuate as much when the market's going up and down. This is kind of the ballast of the portfolio. That's the thing to rely on when things go haywire. For example, are you able to keep enough cash for 2 to 3 years of expenses? If you had to spend $60K out of investments every year, could you have 120 to 180K in cash? And the reason why we think this way is because when we zoom out and look at what the average bear market has done since 1926, we can see that it's lasted approximately 1.3 years. So by keeping enough cash in your portfolio or in your accounts, you can outlast some of the market downturns and avoid being forced to sell investments when they're at low prices. Now, again, not everyone can do this with amounts of cash. So it's important to talk to your financial professionals and see what makes the most sense for you. But here's one more very important point. This could mean the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars in your retirement savings. Because according to Dalbar's study, over the past 20 years, we can see that the S&P 500, or let's take the 60-40 portfolio, has done an average of 6.4% per year. But the average investor here has done just under 3% per year. And a lot of that has to do with making the wrong decisions at the wrong time versus following a systematic investment plan that's really following the weighty evidence of history. And as we get back to Warren Buffett, in this cash position that he has in Berkshire Hathaway, he said in 2013, his letter to shareholders, he revealed that his own personal family plan, if he could have it his way, what he would do, he would take 90% of whatever gets passed on to kids and put that into index funds, really the S&P 500 index funds, not hold it in cash. Again, there's personal things we need to plan for. And then there's these big businesses, hedge funds or conglomerates, they plan a different way. So it probably doesn't make sense to model what these big companies are doing. But again, important to talk to your CFP, make a plan specific to you. And then remember, your retirement success, it doesn't depend on timing the market, going in and out of cash, or copying billionaires or hedge funds and their strategies. It depends on having a solid plan built on the weighty evidence of history and just sticking to it.